should not be a matter to be decided by the male-dominated legislatures.
The 1960s and 70s ushered in big changes for women in America. From family life to the workplace to reproductive rights, there was a charge for change, known as the women's rights movement. But long before then came the fight for women's suffrage, which granted American women the right to vote in 1919. That movement, led by Susan B. Anthony and Elizabeth Cady Stanton, paved the way for the second wave of feminism in the 60s and 70s. In 1960, family planning was transformed as the FDA approved birth control pills for contraceptive use, opening a new chapter for the career women. About 3 years later, at the urging of Esther Peterson, President John F. Kennedy signed the Equal Pay Act. Also that year, Betty Friedan published The Feminine Mystique, which documented what she saw as the oppression of middle-class women.
We're all housewives when in the beginning and in the end, although we have to be much more than that in the world now.
By the 1970s, women of all ages, races, and backgrounds had joined in the fight for equality. Gloria Steinem campaigned for a constitutional amendment to guarantee equal rights for women. And in 1972, Congress passed the Equal Rights Amendment.
Hey, what do you say? Ratify the ERA!
Though the amendment was never ratified, the following year the Supreme Court would make a decision that would have a profound effect on the lives of American women. In the landmark case Roe v. Wade, the High Court ruled that a woman has a constitutional right to choose to have an abortion. Abortion services were made safer and more accessible to women after the ruling, which would face repeated challenges in later years. Although Roe v. Wade was decided in 1973, the fight over abortion rights and women's equality continued to this day in the U.S. and around the world.
Assalamualaikum Dr. Ahmad Shah and fellow classmates. This is Group 3 and we are presenting for Feminism for ADS 510 International Relations. My name is Farhana. My matrix number is 2021586135.
Hi, my name is Siti Nur Shahira binti Jafar. My student ID is 20211182237.
Hi, my name is Rosmaria binti Ismail. My matrix number is 2021101109.
Hello, Assalamualaikum. My name is Nuraina Shaira binti Ahmad Fauzi. My student number is 2021124145.
Hi, my name is Nurul Nadi binti Idris. My student number 2021124267. Okay, now we proceed to our presentations.
Feminism is a term that is synonym with the hashtag #MeToo movement. It embodies the theory of empowering as well as respecting women in our modern society. In international relations, feminism is all about access to equal rights and opportunities for all genders. Why is this so? To answer this question, we explore the roots whence feminism is established. The initial stage is set in ancient Greece, when Plato's Republic advocated that females are equal to men in capabilities of governing and administrating, as well as defending the empire. Since then, various movements have begun to arise. Scholars identify three waves of feminist movements, starting from the mid-19th century in 1848. The first wave advocates for the ladies to ensure that their freedom of rights can be exercised, such as owning property and the rights for voting. The second wave during the 1960s focuses on equality and anti-discrimination against women's roles in society. It is even dubbed as Women's Liberation Movement. The third wave, started during the 1990s, began as a backlash against the second wave's perceived privileging of white straight women against people of other colors and beliefs. According to Mohajan 2022, in his article An Overview of Feminism and Its Categories, categorizes modern feminism into 8 categories, which are liberal feminism, Marxist feminism, socialist feminism, radical feminism, ecofeminism, cultural feminism, black feminism, as well as postmodern feminism. Nevertheless, the motives of this movement and the categorization of feminist ideas all derive from a single purpose. It is to address and alleviate injustices against women. In this presentation, we identified 3 issues of global injustices towards women and the parties involved in alleviating and addressing these suffrages. We also provide 3 suggestions to ensure that the implementation of feminism ideas, access to equal rights and opportunities for all genders, can be continued in order to ensure and protect international society's interests.
The main issue of feminism is leadership, which is the gap between men and women. Leadership can be described as the action of leading a group of people or an organization. This issue can be seen based on the famous president in the Philippines, the first female president, Corazon Aquino, mother of democracy. Maria Corazon Cory Sumulong Cuangco Aquino was a Philippine politician who served as the 11th president of the Philippines from 1986 to 1992. Benigno Aquino Jr., a senator and one of President Marcos' most worker dictator, was married to Corazon Aquino. She became the face of anti-presidential opposition following the murder of her husband on August 21, 1983. When Marcos called for a quick election in the latter part of 1985, Aquino campaigned for president. Aquino called for widespread civil disobedience and after the Batasan Pambansa declared Marcos and his running mate Arturo Tolentino the winner of the election that was held on February 7, 1986, sparking accusation of electoral fraud. The People Power Revolution, a non-violent mass protest movement, then occurred from February 22 to February 25. Following her husband's assassination in 1983, Corazon Aquino became active in various demonstrations held against the Marcos regime. She began to assume the mantle of leadership left by her husband and became a figurehead of anti-Marcos political opposition. During the campaign, Marcos attacked Corazon Aquino on her husband's previous ties to communists, characterizing the election as a fight between democracy and communism. Aquino refuted Marcos' charge and stated that she would not appoint a single communist to her cabinet. Under Corazon Aquino's administration, her economic policies focused on forging good economic standing among the international community as well as disestablishing Marcos' era crony capitalist monopolies, emphasizing the free market and responsible economy. Also, Corazon Aquino's firm's leadership caused her calls for boycott against products and services from companies controlled or owned by individuals closely allied with Marcos. The rally was held at the historic Rizal Park in Luneta, Manila, and drew a pro-Aquino crowd of around 2 million people. A dubious election result drew condemnation from both domestic and foreign powers. Lastly, in her leadership, she insisted on rejecting a power-sharing agreement proposed by the American diplomat Phillips Habib, who had sent as an emissary by U.S. President to help diffuse the tension. Based on this issue, the leadership power led by Corazon Aquino can be seen as feminism. Women can hold opposition as a leader and take a firm stand on the issue. Finally, Corazon Aquino managed to take revenge on her husband's behalf by becoming president and subduing the power of Marcos and his allies. The parties involved in this issue is Corazon Aquino, the former female president of Philippines, and Shirley Chisholm, first black female president of USA. Global Fund for Women is a feminist fund with intersectional lens. The function of this organization is to grant-making and advocacy to challenge the status quo.
One of the many prevalent issues that feminists always brings up whenever they get the chance is sexual harassment. Sexual harassment is any unwanted sexual behavior that makes someone feel upset, scared, offended, or humiliated, or is meant to make them feel that way. Sexual harassment comes in three forms, which is verbal, non-verbal, and physical. Examples of verbal sexual harassment include whistling at someone or telling sexual jokes. When you follow or give a person a personal gift and staring at them intently, you are engaging in a non-verbal sexual harassment. For physical sexual harassment, it occurs when someone touches another person's body, hair, or clothing and stands close to them. One of the cases that received massive attention is the murder of Sarah Everett. On the evening of 3rd March 2021, the victim, 33-year-old Sarah Everett, was kidnapped in South London, England, as she was walking home to the Brixton Hill area from a friend's house near Clapham Common. The perpetrator, a Metropolitan Police officer, Wayne Couzens, probably told Everett that he was arresting her for having breached COVID-19 regulations, but drove her to near Dover where he raped and strangled her before burning her body and disposing of her remains in a nearby pond. The case sparked widespread debate about women's safety and violence against women in the United Kingdom. After the murder, the British government reopened its public consultation on its violence against women and girls strategy, receiving an additional 160,000 responses in 2 weeks. However, some feminist campaigners argued that not enough changed in the wake of the murder. Andrea Simon of the End Violence Against Women Coalition stated that the measures that could make a difference and the resourcing are not where they need to be. On 17 September 2021, Her Majesty's Inspectorate of Constabulary and Fire and Rescue Services published a report commissioned by the government after the murder, finding inconsistencies at every level in how the police respond to violence against women and girls and victims (VAWG), and that there needed to be a radical refocus and shift in the priority given to VAWG offences. Following the death of Sarah Everett, which ignited widespread grief and rage, there has been an increase in reports issued through the media with a heavy focus on women's safety and questioning whether there is enough being done to protect women in this new day and age, invoking the women's safety movement.
The next issue is domestic violence. According to a women's aid organization, domestic violence is a pattern of violence or abuse used to control or maintain power over a partner who is or has been in a relationship. There are various forms of domestic violence, including physical, emotional, psychological, sexual, and financial abuse. So now it's about the percentage of domestic abuse that happens in the US and under the 6 countries during COVID-19. Based on US News article by Chelsea Chorizo on 25 February 2021, stated that isolation, economic, and health threats are likely factors and causes of domestic violence in the US. This is evidenced by a study done by the Council of Criminal Justice stated that domestic violence in the US jumped by 8.1%, while on average domestic violence increased by 7.8% in the 7 countries following the imposition of stay-at-home orders during the pandemic. This study involved the role of a professor in the Department of Sociology at the University of Miami, namely Alex Piquero, who is a researcher. They have obtained various data from police colloques on this issue. 18 studies have been included in the system review. 12 of them are from the US and another 6 from Australia, Argentina, Mexico, India, Italy, and Sweden. Becerra explains his opinion on this study, which shows that economic stress is a factor that is seen to occur quite often based on studies, where usually a woman will be a victim of domestic violence because they think that women are weak and lower level than them. This follows because the world's unstable economic situation causes a person to experience financial problems due to job loss. After that, there have two parties that involved in this article. The first one is Alex Becerra, a professor in the Department of Sociology at the University of Miami. The second one is Council of Criminal Justice. The Council on Criminal Justice seeks to increase knowledge of the nation's criminal justice policy, options, and forge consensus on solutions that improve everyone's safety and access to justice. It acts as a focal point and a breeding ground for leadership and policy in the criminal justice sector.
Are you or do you know a woman that is experiencing violence or abuse? There's a platform where you can find the local, safe, and specialized help that you need. Leela helps you find a trusted helpline. We know how scary and stressful this can be, but know that you're not alone and you're brave. Go to Leela.help now.
So here in addition about Leela.help, a website that was launched by Global Network of Women Shelter, GNWS, along with UN Women, National Network to End Domestic Violence, and NEDF, and other organizations. They are a global voice for survivors and the shelters that serve women. They work to strengthen and unite the women shelter movement globally to end violence against women and their children.
The first suggestion is suggest to government action for prevent sexual harassment. Government should establish organization report and response system and procedure for the prevention of sexual harassment, including internal complaints and investigation procedure, a procedure that provides clear guidelines for making reports. It ensures an anonymous reporting mechanism, protection from retaliation against whistleblowers for those who are involved by sexual abuse and harassment. The second suggestion is suggest education can prevent about issues domestic violence. Education training can help learn how to stop domestic violence, teach about the violations of women's rights and violations of men's rights. It will also help to figure out how to help an abused woman. Low literacy has also been identified as a factor that negatively affects domestic violence prevention efforts. This is because poorly educated people tend to be economically less productive and thus have less bargaining power in the family. Thus, quality education may be one of the most efficient ways to stop violence against any gender.
The third suggestion is open opportunities for a woman to become a leader. To become a leader, not just necessarily a man can be, but women also can be a part of it. Women also have the right to be leaders if they have the criteria of a leader. This is to prevent gender stereotypes. Wrongful gender stereotypes is a frequent cause of discriminations. Gender stereotypes should not be an issue for women to become a leaders. It should be given an opportunity to a woman the right for freedom of speech, freedom of movement. It is to ensure that women have a right voice and opinions at the table within decision for making platforms. At the same time, to defend and listen to women's voice in implementing something. As example, we can see about the Corazon Aquino issues. A woman can become president of the Philippines, and it spanned a 6-year period from 25 February 1986 until 30 June 1992. In the research, Corazon Aquino carried out his responsibilities well during his administrations. it is clear that to be a leader, we don't need to look at gender but look at the criteria to be a leader.
This presentation concludes that we should be opening our eyes towards the sufferings that women face all over the globe. In addition to that, it is emphasized that we must be always aware and understanding towards the suffrages and how it impacts towards our societies as a whole. These issues, domestic violence, sexual harassment, and gaps in leadership, cause females and males to have an imbalance of power in society. Hence, we should always understand, based on the globalizing power of international relations, that we must always know how it is that we should appear to balance this power against males and females. Thank you.